So as you should know by now, in several of my previous videos, I've talked a little bit about the novel coronavirus and remedies. I guess the powers that be don't like the word cure. Remedies for the cold, the common cold, which, incidentally, folks, don't forget that the common cold killed millions of, as they say, Native Americans um, when the Europeans came to the New World. Much the same way that people are dying around the world from a new common cold, the so-called novel coronavirus. People have not developed their immune system to it. There are there is a smattering amount of evidence that there might have been governments might have been toying with this coronavirus to make it more aggressive. But as I pointed out, like I said, my first video back in February, the 22nd of February, I pointed out that a Belgian doctor found a remedy for SARS, and eventually the Chinese used it in their hospitals in Wuhan and nine other hospitals, and found that chloroquine, as they say, worked. Now that's probably going to get this video banned as well, because that video got banned by YouTube. Now I wonder why that is. So I suspect that in the coming months that they're going to scrutinize my videos even more, and will probably ban some more. That is what I suspect. Whether that will happen or not, that remains to be seen. But if any of these things that I've been pointing out in the scriptures begin to happen on a consistent basis, you can be sure they will try to ban it or ban my videos. Today I want to talk about Daniel 2. Once again, I got this epiphany, I guess is what people call it today, that I should go and look up Daniel 2 and verse 43 and go word by word in the Strong's Concordance carefully. So I did. Let's get started. Yeah, you can see this one right here. The last one got deleted. This one got deleted, the one in February 22nd, and the one in March 13th got deleted. Wow, folks. Nice going, YouTube. Anyway, let's go to Daniel 9. Daniel 2. And as most of you know by now who follow or who watch my videos, you know that I find King James Version as well as other versions suspect, because they take great liberties in translations. But fortunately we have Strong's Exhaustive Concordance to help us find the truth. So verse 40, and the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, and most people today know that to be Rome. because the kingdom of gold, that was Babylon. The kingdom of silver was the Medo-Persian Empire. Brass was the Grecian Empire. And of course, the iron was the Roman Empire. And the iron mixed with miry clay spread out from the Roman Empire. Why did he call it iron mixed with miry clay, or the kingdom of iron mixed with miry clay? Shall be strong as iron, because iron causes things to be shattered, shatters everything, shatters it. And as the iron crushes and shatters these, you're using the word shatter over and over again. Boy, did they ever. Look, the foot or the feet and the toes, part of the potter's clay, potter's clay, and from iron. The kingdom shall be divided. There shall be in it the strength of the iron, because the whole, you see the iron mixed with miry clay. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas you saw iron mixed with miry clay. Now, the way they've got this worded here is subtly different in English than the way it should read. So we'll read it the way it's written in King James Version first, and then we're going to analyze this carefully. Whereas you saw the iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave to one another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. And that is it is a reasonable interpretation. Please don't get me wrong. However, the way sentences are formed and words are used shapes meanings. You all know this. Now, who, which, or because you saw iron was mixed with clay, potsherd clay, chapach, or chasaf. All right, but it says right when it says they shall mingle themselves, why did they add that? It was already there. It's already there. Iron mixed with miry clay. Would you not agree that's already there? That means they mingled them. They're mingled. All right. So it shall come to pass, or to become, the seed of men. Now, so what it's saying is the iron mixed with miry clay is the seed of men. This is what he's speaking of. This is how it should be read. The iron mixed with miry clay is the seed of men, because it says to become the seed of men. Now, as I said before, this is a correct interpretation, but you have to be careful not to take too much liberty with interpretation, because the way sentences are shaped and the way words are put together do shade the meaning. So let's go to the next one. And it shall come to pass, not cling this this. Look, iron does not mix with clay. And in the days of these kings shall the El, or Elah of heaven, set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. Now, how do you suppose, or when do you suppose he's going to set up this kingdom? It says in the days of these kings. But if you are intelligent, you will realize at the tail end of these kings. And what happens at the tail end? This, when they realize that iron does not mix with clay. It doesn't work. So what we've had here in Europe since the 1940s, late 1940s, was what would we call, it's not just Europe, all of Western civilization, a doctrine of diversity. All right? But it started with what is written in Daniel 12. Is it 12? To and fro upon the face of the earth. And fro. Well, that's interesting. Here it is. It is in Daniel 12. But you, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. This is reference to the mingling themselves with the seed of men, running to and fro, intertwining. Globalism. Globalism. That's the term I was looking for. So this is talking about globalism. Many will wander or roam about, and knowledge will increase. This is obviously what's happened today. All right. And you can look it up in all these different translations, even though many people will go everywhere searching for the knowledge to be found in it. Meanwhile, many people, this right here is not a good translation at all. Holman says, many will roam about and knowledge will increase. All right, obviously this is talking about today, okay? But if we go back to Daniel 2 and we read this, the tail end is, they shall not cleave to one another because iron is not mixed with clay. Now, Europe found out the last few years that multiculturalism and the doctrine of diversity, globalism, doesn't work. You know the reasons why. You saw the headlines on TV. You saw how Syria, Russia, and Turkey were forcibly moving Syrians and even Libyans and other North Africans are rolling up into Europe as fast as they could go and wreaking havoc across Europe because iron does not mix with miry clay. Now, as I am pointing out again, even as iron does not mix with miry clay, there comes a point when they begin to realize it. But then, at the tail end, it is when the Elah of heaven will set up a kingdom. what happens at the beginning of it. I keep talking about it, and eventually it's going to sink in, I suppose. I wonder what this is doing here. 2:27, huh? So, once again, in Luke 21, verse 25, verse 25 is when the tribulation upon the Gentiles begin. But, as I pointed out, if you read Revelation 11, the sixth seal, it appears that an earthquake starts everything. But then if you read other scriptures, it appears that the sun and the moon and the stars, like, for instance, right here, there'll be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars. But if you read Revelation 11, it says the earthquake begins everything. So which one is it? Or is it a third phenomenon that begins everything? See, what I pointed out before, just because it says, and there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon, doesn't mean that's consecutive. If you say, there shall be signs in the sun and also in the moon, as it says, even also, that means right around the same time. Also in the stars, also upon the earth, Sunoke, holding together, figuratively distress on the ethnos, the Gentiles. So what it really means is around that time these things start to happen. It doesn't really matter which one starts first. From Suneko. So this is the word holding together, figuratively distress, anguish and dismay. Why? What causes this anguish and dismay? You go to the root word and you find out that sickness, illness, on every side, being pressed on every side by sickness and illness. And Revelation 2:27. Let's go there, shall we? Oh, hold on. Mm, 27. Now, I haven't even gone over this yet. Why is that word written in Revelation 2:27? Where is it? I don't see it. Let's look at this again. Where is this? What happened? Oh, well, that's weird. Why can I not find it anymore? That's right here. Why is it? I don't get this. Because when I look down on the side here, Matthew, Luke, Luke, Acts, 2 Corinthians, Philippians. Well, I don't understand what's going on here, because I did not go to Revelation 2:27 in this particular. See, you see what I'm saying? Why is this happening? Is this in reference to what's going on in Luke 20 and Revelation 2:27? Could be. See, I don't know how they do these things here on Bible Hub, but anyway. Then, as I said before, let's go to Revelation 2:27. And apparently what he's talking about, the rod of iron as the vessels, shall they be broken? Interesting. So, what I really wanted to get into is this particular woman, Jezebel, calls herself a prophetess. What's going to happen to her? Illness. Into a bed where a sick man is carried. So what I'm saying here is this translation Suneko is actually a more accurate translation than Sunoke, which is what the translators used in this instance. So what I'm saying here is the this is referring to one of the according to what we read in Revelation 2, a church in Thyatira, that Jezebel, those who committed fornication with her, and their children, the descendants, are all going to be cast into great tribulation. The great tribulation. Okay, what is the great tribulation? It is the Suneko, seized by illness. And as it is written in here, it agrees. Seized by illness. What kind of illness? This kind of illness. Thantanos, pestilence. So why is it then that he exclusively uses that term concerning the ecclesia, as they say? Well, maybe because it's going to be the first plague, or maybe even the #1 plague. If that's the case, we could be in a lot of trouble. Let me show you this article here on Zero Hedge. Now, folks, just so you know, Tyler Durden is an imaginary person. It's actually several different people. It's a fictional person. But they apparently these folks, one is out of Belgium, love to or are experts in financial analysis. Okay, so they go and report things that people like the J.P. Morgan chief economist speaks about. Earlier, we reported in a report titled "The Lamps Are Going Out All Across the Economy." The lamps are going out? Well, that conjures up Matthew 25, doesn't it? Let's go there. Let's go to Matthew 25. Oh, what do we have here? We have the parable of the 10 virgins. Didn't I mention earlier in the video how the usage of sentences, placement of words, color interpretations? Do you think these guys actually intended to make a statement like that? I don't know. But let's go ahead. And then the kingdom of heaven shall be like unto 10 virgins, which took their lamps and went to meet the bridegroom. And 5 of them were wise, and 5 were foolish. And those that were foolish took their lamps and took no oil with them. How much oil is in your lamp? Do you have enough? I ask myself that. I have, but I don't know if I've got enough yet. The wise took oil in their vessels, so with their lamps. In other words, an extra can of oil. Do you have an extra can of oil for your lamps, just in case your lamp goes out? Just in case you run out. You should have. While the bridegroom waited, they all slumbered and slept says at midnight, but it really means in the midst. There was a cry made, behold, the bridegroom comes, go you out to meet him. It was the Messianic era begins. Well, the Jews know that the Messianic era is about to begin. They know this. The Christians, on the other hand, believe that the Antichrist era is about to begin. Well, the Jews are right and the Christians are wrong. Unless, of course, Israel's real Messiah is the Antichrist. Now there's another way to look at that, you see. And quite frankly, that's the way I see it, but I'm not going to go too much into that right at this moment. Then all those virgins arose and trimmed their lamps, and the foolish said unto the wise, give us of your oil, our lamps are gone out. Look at this. Earlier we reported that in a report the lamps are going out all across the economy. Do you think it's a coincidence that they use that kind of language? Or do you think they intended to use that kind of language, folks? I wonder when they did this particular, I thought there was a link there, but apparently not. J.P. Morgan's chief U.S. economist Michael Feroli slashed his Q2 or second quarter U.S. GDP forecast to a staggering minus 14%, which he optimistically expects to form the bottom of a V-shaped recovery that then lifts the U.S. economy by plus 8% and plus 4% in Q3 and Q4, respectively, at least until the next downward revision in his forecast. And of course, these guys, they say, we doubt the V-shaped recovery will take place. In fact, if there is any recovery, so what they're doubting is the recovery that J.P. Morgan is trying to predict. Or I should say, Michael Feroli of J.P. Morgan. It will be an L shape. especially if medical experts are correct that the pandemic will take 12 to 18 months to clear out. 12 to 18 months, folks? Have you got enough food to last for 12 to 18 months? Wasn't it me a couple of years ago who said you should have like a 3.5 year supply of food? I had a fellow come over yesterday, bring me some gas, fill up my gas tank, propane. And he was talking about the Mormons. Well, the Mormons, they only talk about 2 months, have 2 months food supply ready. Well, that's not enough. That said, the QE prediction alone is catastrophic. And that slowdown, and if that slowdown persists, the U.S. is facing not only a recession, but probably a second Great Depression. Folks, this is of course, a prediction by J.P. Morgan's chief U.S. economist, not some hillbilly living out in the backwoods. Now he's saying, however, if J.P. Morgan's forecast revision for the U.S. was catastrophic, then that means that the latest global outlook is downright apocalyptic. I'm not the one making these predictions, folks. Economists for major banks are making these predictions. Do I know if I don't know what's going to happen 12 to 18 months. I don't know. Can I hold out that long? I don't know. But we all should have known this was coming, shouldn't we have? In separate note by J.P. Morgan's Bruce Kasman has also taken a flamethrower to his global economic forecast, and the bank's head of economic policy now anticipates Europe to implode in an unprecedented 22%, the UK to crater by a depressionary, and with the US plunging 14%, he sees the global economy ex-China contracting by a whopping minus 13.7%. In short, JP Morgan now expects no less than a global depression in the second quarter. Do you know what the second quarter, when it starts, folks? April the 1st. Well, the IRS would say April the 15th, but let's be honest, no. They're 12 months in the Roman calendar. 12 divided by 4 quarters is 3 months. We've got a few more days to go, less than 2 weeks. Or somewhere around 2 weeks. Yeah, less than 2 weeks before the second quarter begins. Do you have enough oil stored away for your land so you can function? Folks, it shouldn't take people long to figure out what the parable of the oil, or the parable of the 5 wise and 5 virgins, are talking about. Now, it would be incorrect. You can read the rest of this. It's plain as the nose on your face here. So we'll go back to the parable, and it says this. I've often gone over this, but the foolish said unto the wise, give us of your oil, for our lamps are gone out. But the wise answered and saying, no. Why not? How dare they? How dare the wise not give the foolish their oil? Isn't that what the entitled generation would say? Not so, lest there be not enough for us and you. In other words, what they're saying is, if we shared it, nobody would survive, or nobody would make it, figuratively speaking. But go you rather to them that sell. And as I pointed out in my last video, you cannot sell the truth. You cannot sell the word of Jehovah. It is not for sale. So then how can this be referring to spiritual matters? Well, that's an interesting thought, isn't it? So what's he referring to? Something that is bought and sold. Physical things. And buy for yourselves. And while they went to buy, while these people were scrambling to buy things, it does not say while they were starving to death. It does not imply while they were starving to death. It does not say when the 5 wise vessels were almost empty, does it? No, it says while they went to buy. That means very shortly afterwards, the bridegroom came, and they that went in, they that were ready, those who were prepared, went in with him to the marriage, and the door was shut. And afterward came the other virgins, saying, Master, Master, open unto us. And they said, Verily I say unto you, I know you not. Now, the punchline is supposed to be right here in verse 13. Watch. Be awake, therefore, for you know not the day nor the hour when the Son of Man comes. So don't just go bumping along, expecting the world to continue as normal and nothing not happen, and nothing happen. Don't do that. Expect something to happen. If you're not watching, you're not going to be ready. So upon reading this, and we see this is implying supplies here. You see? This is implying supplies. Go rather to them that sell and buy for yourselves. Well, how can you go and buy for yourselves if there's nothing left to buy? Interesting, isn't it? I don't know when this is going to take place, because he says you know neither the day nor the hour. I don't know when. But the implication here is while they're going out to buy, while there's still stuff available. And stuff is still available. You got to work a little harder to find it, but it's there. How long? And if you were watching, you'd know. If you were watching, you'd know that what we see right now is probably the biggest part of the tribulation upon the Gentiles. Oh, there's going to be more things, a lot more. There's going to be 3.5 years of no rain. You see, and that was the main reason why I used to tell people you need to have 3.5 years worth of food. But because if there's no rain, there's no crops. So in summary, what I'm saying about Daniel 2 and verse 43, the implication here is when the iron no longer mixes with miry clay. In other words, when this right here stops, people running around everywhere, when that stops, that's when the kingdom of Elah is going to be set up. It's going to be in Jerusalem. So right now, it is especially incumbent upon us to keep our eyes, our ears, and our minds open for the truth.